What's going on, everybody? This is Jesse. You're watching Comic Conversation. This is a very special episode. We are doing a Justice League movie review, and yes, this will be full of spoilers. You guys have heard for the past few days spoiler-free reviews. Now it's time to talk about what actually happened in the movie. So we're going to break all that down for you. We're going to talk about what we liked. If we didn't like something, we're going to tell you that too. And then at the end, we're going to give you our ratings. We're going to tell you what we thought of the movie. We're going to do what we normally do, which is the traditional for movies 5-star scale. And then we're also going to do what we do here in the comic book world is a 10-point scale, whether it's CGC, CBS, they do 1 through 10. So we're going to do that for you too. And that's at the end. So stick around for that. But first, we need to break down some numbers for y'all. Previous episode here. Actually, before we get into that, let's introduce the panel to everybody. So we got Chris, Buckshot 33, Boston Chris. How you doing?
What's up? What's up?
Yeah.
What's up?
All right. I know we just barely announced that we're taking the rest of the year off, yet here we are again, right? so all right, cool. So I'm glad to have you here. Justin should be along shortly, but here's Edwin. How you doing? He's waving. All right, cool. He's reading something there. And we have our very own Lord of the Long Box, Mr. Tebow. How's it going, brother?
What's up, you Tubanites? Let's get this on and cracking.
Let's do it. All right. And then a couple shout outs. We have quite a few people actually in the chat. Jackio, Splash Page Comics, Great Legend, Chris Lorenzo, J. Rod Ham. You're going to want to stick around. I got something to tell you in a second here. Also, we have Gomez the Comic Collector. We got T-Men, G-Men, and Ray D is here as well. So we got the chat popping already. So nice to have you guys here. This is going to be, if you just started here, Caddy Kings is here as well. Spoilers. I need to just remind you about that. It's in the title. We'll remind you periodically for the new folks who come in and out. So there you go. All right. So just kind of high level, guys. What did you think of the movie? Let's do like what they say in the corporate world, the 30,000 foot view. All right. Pros, cons. You liked it. You didn't like it. Was it just okay? Did you hate it? We'll start with that.
You let our guest go first.
You have the floor, good sir.
Does that mean me? Is that me?
Yes,
sir. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Is this thing on?
Strickety strange.
Well, dude, I got my collar pop. I don't want to show my Marvel bias here, but I got Shang-Chi and Doctor Strange right here. But
and you're rocking the Punisher, too.
Oh, yeah, because I'm actually on the last episode, but we'll get to that later if possible. I liked it, believe it or not. And I knew all the shortcomings of it because I didn't get into the spoilers of it, but I read the typical reviews, and I didn't stick to just like the critical typical movie reviewers like Variety or EW. I went to like Campia, Stuckman, Schmosville, those cats, kind of guys that are more lenient on geek films.
You got Schwetty.
Yeah, well, Schwetty guy. I mean, he likes all fucking comic book films. But I mean,
that's like Kevin Smith. No matter what it is, he loves it.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it for what it was. And then when we get into the other issues with it, I have a feeling it's one of those things where if you really liked it, the second time around you'll like it even more. If you had issues with it the first time, you'll have even more issues with it the second time around. The more you like to kind of dwell on it. So that's, so overall, I liked it. It was like people say, it was a step in the right direction. The timing of that step could be debated, and I'm pretty sure we'll debate it today.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right. How about you guys?
Well, I don't know, man. I liked it. I generally like the film, but I think my biggest issue was the ending. Was very wrapped up pretty quickly, and people were talking about Cyborg, CGI, look and Steppenwolf and all this stuff. I really didn't have a problem with that. It was just the way it was wrapped up at the end so quickly. Because I was looking for a fun film. I think that I got that for the most part. But it definitely had its issues. I don't know. I think that the more I hear you guys talk, the more I'll just process and analyze everything and come up with a better opinion. But it was better than Batman versus Superman, which I think is almost unanimously agreed on. But I didn't think it was as good as Wonder Woman. I thought that Wonder Woman was a very good film. And as you guys talk, I want to read you guys the 4 reasons that are speculated on why this film did not do so good. Somebody put it on Comic Book Fanatics, but I'll let Chris go ahead and go first, and then I'll come back around to that.
All right.
You know, it's such a funny thing. Like, it's such a funny thing that people keep saying, like, oh, like it was better than Batman vs Superman, and it was better. Like, it's not hard to beat that. Like that's such a low bar that it's just like to say, well, it was better than the biggest piece of shit of all of the films that came out. You know what I mean? Like that's I don't know, kind of a cop-out excuse on it. But what I will say is this: I did like it. I thought it was, like a lot of people have been saying, step in the right direction. You know, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, based on some of the stuff I saw in the trailer, based on you know, just how unpolished certain things looked in the trailer. And I expected that hopefully it would have been more polished as we went forward, but it didn't end up going that way. And specifically, I'm talking about Cyborg CGI. It just, I mean, he looked fake the whole movie. That was one of the things that kind of, I mean, jumped out. I think one of the things that they did well, though, was kind of, he wasn't as prominent as I thought he was going to be. So, you know, it didn't really take too much away. And I think once you kind of, there wasn't anything super glaring that made it unwatchable, at least for me. And there was a lot of things they did do that, you know, it did make it kind of fun and, you know, made me, you know, be able to kind of relax and enjoy it. So overall, I think it was a step in the right direction. It was a, you know, pretty good film. Like, I mean, not, you know, phenomenal, but pretty good.
Well, let me piggyback off what Chris just said, because a lot of people had complaints about Cyborg CGI and stuff, and that's all fine, but I think that I wasn't able to really see that because this is the first time we had Cyborg on the big screen. I was more interested in finding out who he was as a character, so I think that's why I didn't really see all the special effects that people were talking about, like it just his personality, his you know, the audio was magnificent because his voice and the way they put it all together was just kind of like, you know, I just wanted to really find out more about him and who he was. And I know I've heard that there's a lot of things that were actually deleted. Like we were supposed to get more background history on him and how he came across his accident, you know, playing football and all this other stuff.
That's an understatement, dude, because the San Diego Comic-Con trailer was a totally different movie. I mean, there were
so many scenes we didn't get. Yeah, like, we were supposed to get actually. So we introed Flash, we introed Aquaman, and we introed Cyborg with this movie. And there was something that I just read today actually with Jason Momoa, and he was, and the quote was he was bummed about the reviews. So apparently there was like a big sort of, you know, backstory with him about how he's like the reluctant king. There was this big scene with Willem Dafoe actually that they cut from the movie. Yep. Right. So, and we're going to get into this in a second, but you know, WB exec saying this movie needs to be 2 hours or less because we need more butts in the seats. We need to have this movie film more times. Force them to cut so many important scenes, or arguably important scenes. I'm speculating there. I haven't seen them. But I think that really factors into how we felt about, you know, these intros with these characters here. They were just kind of like thrown at us like, okay, well, you know, Aquaman's kind of grumpy, but we don't know why, you know.
Those scenes literally cut into the narrative of the story. I think DC or Warner Brothers ego got the better of them, and their assumption was, hey, our characters have been around for the longest time ever. Everybody knows them. But I would argue that the Flash is unidentifiable in this movie because the kid Grant, whatever his name on the CW, has owned that role. He's a confident speedster, and now it's like, all right, just the movie universe, like, all right, well, no, this is a young Flash. He's new to his powers, and I have a feeling it's Batman's parents getting killed syndrome. We're gonna hear this nonstop thing we already know about Barry Allen's dad wrongly accused of killing his mom, and they did it again, and I have a feeling they're gonna do it again in the Flash movie. And it's like, all right, it's like the history is there, and this is part of the timing of the steps they took. There's a good movie in here somewhere. If this movie came out after Aquaman, after Flash, maybe after a Cyborg movie, where they all come, and then boom, we could have been like, oh yeah, I just saw their solo films. It's just now they all just met up. But I remember I try not to let I said I'm just gonna enjoy the film. So I went in there. I said I'm not gonna nitpick. But there was one scene that was glaring to me that just jumped out at me. That was really bad editing, and I think it was a transition from a Wonder Woman scene and it just cut right into something else. And I was like, well, that was weird. That just came out of nowhere. It was like to me, it was like a DJ. I guess that's the analogy I use. Yeah. The DJ making a mix where the transition was just a cutover. You know, normally you try to match the beats.
The crossbar, he just goes like this.
You try to see it was like a cut mix where they go, boom, there you go. Yeah. And in this case, it was like, wait a second, those songs were a little offbeat, and you're like, it was glaring to a point. But then you know, the story got over. And I also noticed something weird too, man. When Ben Affleck shaved, he looked totally different. Like they CGI'd his face from when he had a beard. Like you know, we're not even talking about Superman, that opening cell phone footage. That was the worst of his mustache gate of the entire film. They use like a flip phone and shit or something to record him, and his mouth. My girlfriend turned to me. She goes, because I told her, she goes, "Oh yeah, that's where he's missing his mustache." I go, "Oh yeah. It's kind of jumps out at you."
It had like a video game sort of edit to the feel, to the mouth area. That's the best way I can describe it.
I love that analogy that you use because it's funny. You know, that whole DJ thing. You know, like people don't quite get it. Like when you see something that's like it's different in film. Like when you see something glaring, you know, it makes you kind of wonder and stop. But like if you're at a club or something like that and you listen to the music and someone does one of those hard or just bad mixes, everyone just stops on the dance floor. No one realizes it. And the thing is, people cover it up by being like, "Oh, like Tupac's in." Oh,
I'm that dude, like, man. I'm that dude at the club yelling at the DJ, going, "What the fuck you doing, man?"
Yep. That was like in my club. I used to be that dude. Like, what the fuck, dude? Fade in. Like, pick a different record. Slow it down. Speed it. Whatever you got to do, man. Take an extra.
The BPMs are not matching, bro.
Yeah, so that goes to the editing of the film and the two different visions of the directors. Because if the films are somewhat close, you can have a good. And this goes to, like Jesse said, of WB wanting to squeeze as many showings in, giving a mandate that it has to be under 2 hours, and then only giving Josh Whedon 6 months to finish the film, and had two different visions, so it was kind of clashing sometimes. It's like mixing fucking R&B and rock music sometimes. It's a bad analogy, but I think
it makes sense.
WB has had major issues with their editing. I mean, probably Suicide Squad is the worst culprit of them all. I mean, it's gotten better, but you could still see where they're missing that coherent. And editing is a very important part of the post-production process, right? You got to sit. Most people say principal photography takes 3 months, 4 months, and the rest of the time is CGI, editing, and all that other stuff. And I just think they, like I think we said it in the last time, it's like a fine wine. You got to open it up, let it breathe, and this taste the film. Give it time to to edit and make all the top parts. I really believe that if they would have made the solo films first and used the Marvel way, and added another 20 minutes to this film, you would have had a good Justice League movie akin to Age of Ultron. I won't say it'll be akin to Avengers because that's the top of the bar, right? But Age of Ultron had its issues, but it was still entertaining the way the heroes got together, and we all knew their backstories. But it's for me as a comic book fan, I enjoyed it. But if I'm a diehard DC fan and been waiting my entire life for this matchup, I would be like,
you gotta be worried.
Disappointed.
Yeah. One of the good sort of litmus tests for me is like, how do I feel initially when I leave the theater? Am I entertained? Was I like unsatisfied? Did I want more? Or did I fall asleep, in the movie? And I got to say, I walked out of there thinking I had fun with the movie. I had fun with it. It was fun, and we'll talk about why in a second. And I was talking to one of my friends today, Ray, cool guy, one of the few people in my kind of like real life that I can really geek out with on this type of stuff. So pretty cool. Anyways, I was asking him what he thought of the movie, and he said it was all right. And I thought about that word all right, and I was like, that's actually pretty damn accurate for me anyways. I didn't hate it. It wasn't bad necessarily. I didn't love it. It was good. It was just kind of like right in the middle for me. It was all right. So for me, that word kind of hit home. It was just all right. It was,
Yeah,
it was okay. We can compare it to the other movies, and we did that before with, of course, Suicide Squad and BVS and stuff, Wonder Woman. And yes, they're moving in the right direction. They're not quite there yet with it, but for me, it was okay, Yeah. But again, I had fun with it. That's the best I can say about that part of it. But
honestly, my thought process on it was like, you know what, so with Batman versus Superman, my wife actually kind of looked at me like, why did you bring me here for this? And she's not even a comic book fan. She was just kind of like, wow, this is kind of a waste of money, don't you think? And I'm like, yeah. And same with Suicide Squad. I left that being like, what the fuck did I just, I was excited for that, and it turned out the way it was. Wonder Woman, like I said, like it wasn't worth all the universal praise that it got. Like, oh my god, best movie ever. No, it was pretty good. But again, step in the right direction. I think this was another step in that right direction. And I felt like I didn't waste my money. That was like the takeaway. I went, like, I had fun. I didn't waste my money. I'm not like pissed off that I went and watched this movie. So that's where I came with it. I mean, it wasn't like with Thor, I was thoroughly entertained, and I can't wait for the next installment. But I mean, they're two different beasts at this point. And I think that's another thing people need to realize is that DCEU and Marvel Cinematic Universe, completely two different beasts. It's not even worth having the argument over what people prefer. Like what you like, but I mean, just remember they're two completely separate beasts, and you gotta understand that they're being done in two different ways. So the best thing to do is just enjoy them both as much as you can, and just kind of move forward. Take the good with the good. Take the good when you get it. Don't dwell on everything that's negative from before.
On the same token, though, if I can caveat on that, drink if you're playing along at home. And I mentioned this, I think, on one of the Facebook groups. There's like 10 of them now, but I said that as fans of the genre of comic books and movies, what have you, that for some reason we set the bar rather low for movies, right? Like people will say DC writes the best stories ever, Marvel writes the shit stories ever, Marvel makes the best movies ever, but DC makes the worst movies ever. But if we universally critique it the same way and hold it to a higher standard, we will force them to make better films. And I think that's what you saw at the box office, right? Is where people are like, we want that epic, showing. We want that epic movie-going experience. And I think what the fans are saying, look, don't give us this half-ass shit. Because we know all the baggage that this film came with, right? And so I think we as fans should say, oh, well, it was good. I hate this line. It was good for a comic book movie.
There's the qualifier.
It's a good film regardless if it's a comic book movie or not. You know what I mean? Like, Skull Island, was it a good monster movie? No, I thought it was a good movie altogether, right? There was a King Kong movie. But I think we need to hold movies and Netflix shows, whatever, in that same regard. Is it a good show?
Cut out the qualifiers.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and it's always divisive where, it's because you're a fanboy of Marvel or DC or whatever, I mean, I really like Thor, but I also thought it was a little bit too jokey and bright, and there's certain things like I thought Wonder Woman was really well, but nominated for an Oscar? Come on now. No, really?
Yeah. You got Logan and Wonder Woman up for Oscars this year.
Even Logan is not, it's a fucking paper thin plot, but it's a good movie. But come on, let's be serious. It's not, people want to relive The Dark Knight, basically, because of what's the name got an Oscar. But I mean, but just make a good movie before you worry about making an Oscar-nominated film. And unfortunately, it seems like every DC property gets attached with some type of baggage, right? I mean, now we're gonna go into The Flash, knowing there was multiple directors. I think Aquaman is the only movie that's had the same cast and crew. Shazam, I mean, shit, it took us forever just to get that casting done. I mean, I think Flash is on its third director now, so unfortunately, we're gonna show prejudice toward it because we kind of know what's happening already, right? Third director, why? And then exactly. Unfortunately, we are in the age of instant media, to where we can get that reaction and news just like that.
And what's funny? This type of stuff has been happening for decades, but it's until the advent of social media when we started to be able to really get into the particulars of what's happening, in pre-production and while the film's being developed, the concepts that are being thrown out. Like, we hear about all these movies that Warner Brothers is, wants to do, whether they'll make them or not. That stuff has always happened. But now, because of social media, because of pretty much everybody's ability to just kind of, throw out whatever they want into the mix, we're getting all of that. And everybody kind of says, oh, so they didn't want to make this movie, or the director's changed, or this movie got thrown out, or this and that. And, people say the sky is falling, but you know what? That's just the normal process, folks. That's just what happens in Hollywood in the studios.
We just happen to see every step of the process now.
Exactly.
Before, you had to be an insider or read like the trades, Variety was a fucking newspaper. It wasn't a website. And, back in remember Ant-Man and everything it went through?
Oh, yeah.
And Ant-Man is arguably one of my favorite films to rewatch because I just think it's fucking hilarious, right? I mean, Ant-Man is one of those films that entertain me regardless. If I'm like, I got the Blu-ray, I'll pop it in, whatever. But it's like that movie, people, so it's not just a Marvel or a DC
train
thing.
scene gets me every time.
It just happens, and I just can't help but think that DC can't get WB out of its way. Exactly. And it started with the CEO. When he came out with that mandate that it has to be, that's ridiculous to put those constraints on a filmmaker. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's ridiculous in general, but to put those constraints on somebody who just came in and they have to do reshoots, they have to do like blending of the two styles, right? Like Zack Snyder basically filmed the whole movie, and then Whedon had to come in, do some reshoots of that, figure out a way to kind of, I think he did, it was sort of patchworky, and I'm actually borrowing that from King of the Golden State, but it wasn't as patchworky as, it could have been. He did a pretty good job about blending the styles there. So we had not only the time constraint of that in post-production, but also making sure that he got that into that 2-hour mandate. So he had a lot of headwind there, in terms of that. And I think.
And remember the Fantastic Four movie and how a train wreck that was? And apparently, but the director came out and straight up said that, hey, man, Trank said, I got tranked on, and that movie bombed because all the fucking suits at Fox wouldn't let me make the movie I want to make. And then, and what's interesting is during the press junket for Justice League, there was no director front and center. Tiki Watiti was all over the place. That dude, first of all, he's fucking hilarious, and he's an actor in his own right? So they were doing this press junkets. We're having a good time and laughing and everything. He was doing the the talk shows and everything.
Hey guys, that's Korg.
Yeah, we didn't see Whedon or Snyder, and people say, well, Snyder was in, he had this tragedy, and he was in more. No, he was already filming another movie, right? He was doing that thing. He has a project that he's filming all in 4K on a cell phone. So he's been doing that this whole time. So it's not. That's why I think he left, because there was some other issues going on, and this was a graceful way. And it's almost like we could read it in the tea leaves that this is like Ben Affleck's like way of bowing out, saying, I don't want to be part of a box office disaster. That that reported last thing I saw was they could lose $50 to $100 million.
And actually, I'm going to break that down in a second here, but. I think that he doesn't want to be known as the guy who was like in 3 arguably bad Batman movies in a row, like that. He doesn't want that to be his legacy, right? So this movie, it had a lot of headwind coming into it. We were just talking about it, a lot of the issues with, pre-production, development. We talked about them quite a bit on Comic Conversation here. And then, of course, I think it was back in March when the tragedy happened with Snyder's family, with his daughter, right? And that's kind of when Whedon stepped in. So not only that, but then just kind of the overall feeling that fans have with the DCEU in general, right? We came out, sure, we had Wonder Woman, but we had Suicide Squad, we had BVS, so people were just sort of lukewarm about it, right?
Yeah, man, it still ain't looking so bad now.
Exactly, right? And just kind of a side point. I think it's really cool that we got to see Wonder Woman so soon after we saw her this summer, right? Like, I don't think like even try not to compare, but like with Marvel, I don't think that we've gotten like a, like main roster sort of characters so quickly one after the other. I can't think of any. Like we've had some, supporting characters in the different films. But if you think of like the starting lineup, like the A team for the Avengers, I don't think that we've gotten that in such a near month time frame. And correct me if I'm wrong, but we did get that with Wonder Woman, right? She's one of the big league characters there. Anyway, I just wanted to say that really quickly. But coming into this, we had that, and we had all these reviewers. The embargo lifted 2 days before the movie, right? It was 2 weeks before Thor. Coming into this, it was 2 days, and that's the full embargo. The social media embargo was a couple weeks, so we're not talking about that. But that tells you the level of confidence that they had in the movie. And then we got the reviews, and they were, and you all read them, they were lackluster at best. There were people that were panning the movie. The RT score, they were holding on to it for a while. It leaked. It was 48%. It dropped down to 37%, right? And that does affect the movie. John Campea, no, listen to me. John Campea was talking to one of his friends, or his friend shared this with him, and he said that those reviews, they'll never kill a movie. So anybody that tells you bad reviews kill a movie are wrong. What they do, and this is an inside analyst who said this, is that they affect the box office performance by roughly 10%. So a negative movie is going to be about 10%. Glowing reviews, it's going to give them another, say for a $100 million, performance, it's going to give them another $10 million. And that's something that they like, right? So this movie, it was actually kind of going into it projected to be $110 million. $110 million was supposed to be what the performance was. What we actually got was a little bit different. It was actually, what was the number? $96 million, right? Domestically. It made $185.5 million overseas. So that came to, for the weekend, $281.5 million. Not bad, right? It actually crossed the $100 million mark yesterday. So instead of it being 3 days, it took about 4 days. So, it's okay. It's sort of on track there.
Actually, the adjusted is 93. I just read that today.
93.
So
okay.
So instead of 96, it
lower.
actually went lower to 93 because they kind of estimate Sunday. They can't really, until Monday when it comes out, obviously.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. 93. So a little bit less. But I'll break down the numbers for you if you want. But the movie, if it stays on this current trajectory, is not only going to not make money, it's actually going to lose money for the studio. So, and that's just numbers. That's pretty much, facts. Like, we can argue opinions all day, but if you look at the numbers and the facts, like if you're a WB exec and you're sitting there, your job is to make money for the studio, right? Your job is they're there to make money. They're not there to just out of the goodness of the heart to just have fun, So when you look at those numbers and you break it down, how do you sell that for a franchise? How do you sell that for movies going forward? That's really tough, So just kind of
that's why it's important, and why opening weekend box office numbers are a good indicator, a very important indicator to the studio, because that shows the confidence of the true core of fans that are been waiting to see it, that buy the pre-sale tickets, that show up the lineup because they're excited about it. So and that's why they put such a big onus on the opening weekend numbers, because that's when you get your biggest box office draw. And then there's that interesting percentage drop typically at the second week where it's 50 to 60%. And, it's going to have a tough time going because Pixar is coming out next week. That little indie movie Wonder did like 21 million. So, that's like a amazing thing.
It's pretty good.
And then Star Wars is literally 3 weeks away. So, if it didn't make its money in the first week, it's going to have a tough time of doing it because Pixar is going to get all the families in when they bring the little kids and things like that nature.
They do pretty well because you got to buy the ticket for the kid and then you got to buy the parents' ticket too. So you kind of automatically double.
I'm looking forward to it. Anything Pixar does, man, you're going to see some grown ass men crying in that bitch, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Exactly right. All right. So here's the numbers I'm going to tell you. So production costs were about $300 million. And these are rough numbers. It wasn't exactly 300 million, right? And then you have to look at P&A, which is print and advertising. That's the marketing costs. That was 150 million. So roughly $450 million to make this movie. Okay.
And the cost of reshoots, or did they factor that into the 300? Because the cost of all the reshoots that Whedon had to do to get all the crew back out there, to get the actors back out there, I would imagine the post-editing process is even longer because they have to take basically 2 films and patchwork together one film. So, I mean, we'll never know how much it costs. You know,
Exactly, right.
And
These are rough estimates, but I'm sure it was probably higher than this. If you average the last, say, 4 DCEU movies, they made about 2.45 times what they did in the opening weekend for the overall, you know, their overall take, what they just basically considered the profit for the movie, right? So if you look at, so we take the 2.45, okay, that's going to be our multiplier. The 96 million, that's what I used for my calculations in my head. You said it was 93, so it's going to be even less, but we're going to go with the 96 for right now. If you do 2.45, that's about 235 million. And then the 185 for the foreign, right? That's 450 million. So then you wind up there at $685.2 million, right? For the overall. That's projected what it's going to be. Okay. Now, that sounds like a pretty good number, but that is the box office numbers. That's the overall ticket sales. Mm-hmm. Now, the studio, they get about 52% of that, right? So AMC, whoever sold the tickets, they get the rest of that. They get 52% of that, and they get 38% of the foreign gross. Okay. So remember those numbers. So 52% of the studio, of the domestic, you're looking at 300. Are you guys with me so far? 357 million.
A math test, man. Let me get a math.
And then for the foreign, you're at $171 million. Okay.
Yep.
But you guys also got to factor in that they make up a lot of what they lose through DVD and Blu-ray sales.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later. I think Jesse. When we talk about
I'm listening to Jesse's numbers, and it's just like, if that's the truth, like they're already operating at a loss, so they need those DVD sales.
Exactly. So we started with the 685, right? We take away the 356. We take away the 171. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty small. Well, actually, no. We end up at the 527 because I already did the domestic and the other takeaways. So that we have to take away. That's the final number, right? Now, out of that, you have to take the production cost and the P&A costs. So you take away the 300 million. You take away the 150 million. You take away the global home entertainment cost, which includes the streaming. There's talent guild fees, all that stuff. And that's how you wind up. If you run those numbers, you're going to wind up at negative $50 to $100 million.
Holy shit.
Negative. Yeah.
Caveat of that, it's already been released in China at the same time. So you're not getting that big, giant extra. You know how on the last, I think, Marvel movie, there was the China box office hadn't come in yet for Thor. And when it did, boom, it pushed it right up to like 650. And now it's like over 700 million. And I'm looking at it. China already came in opening weekend. They did 50 million in China. So I mean, so the international box office is not going to get much bigger. Exactly. I mean, if you're counting as overall, and the domestic actually includes, which is interesting, not Mexico, but North America. So it's Canada and the United States. So I mean, I really didn't foresee it shitting the bed so badly at the box office. I thought this was a no-brainer. It had, everything there. People wanted to see it, but people just didn't see it. I mean, my theater was about 70% full. I mean, we went on a Saturday, afternoon, you know what I mean? So we didn't go in the evening, but as we're leaving, they had, how the theater will have the signs up that says, hey, line up for the 7 p.m. showing or 5 p.m. showing. Yeah. There were like 5 people there, you know what I mean? It was like, I remember when I went and saw The Dark Knight, dude, there was a line in every showing of every theater, you know what I mean? We stood in line for a good hour. When we left, there was lines for it. And, the last time I saw that was Avengers when I saw it I saw a midnight showing of Avengers, and the theater was absolutely packed to the gills, but I didn't see my theater, and typically my theater is right in the middle of Orange County in Irvine, and it gets pretty packed, and I just didn't see that. I mean, I think it's even apparent I mean, a lot of YouTubers that are in our combo community haven't seen it yet, and they said things happen or whether but it's that weekend box office is really important if you want your movie to succeed and to tell the studios that they have confidence in it.
Exactly right. And for those numbers, I kind of had to extrapolate some stuff and averages from the past 4 movies and stuff, but it's by and large pretty accurate there. Even if they do say, even if they make it, 200 million above, like, what the current trajectory is, that's still very minimal numbers. And a lot of times that profit goes into funding future projects. Like whatever the Justice League profit might have been, could have been going to Suicide Squad 2, could have been going towards, and they're already working, I guess, on Aquaman, but it could have been going towards Shazam, could have been going towards any of those, Batman standalone movies. So, a lot of that stuff is kind of up in the air at this point, based on just numbers right now. We're not talking opinion, just numbers. So that's kind of disconcerting for me as a DC fan wanting to see these movies come out, and now looking at the numbers being kind of unsure about, is that going to happen? What's the future going to look like for these things?
Well, here's the thing though, man. If you think about it, by the time Aquaman comes out, Marvel would have had 3 films and Fox would have 3 X-Men films out already. So
next year,
it's like, an hour, a year, excuse me. That's a long time. You can't build momentum without, you know what I'm saying? If they would have just like they did with Wonder Woman was good. They came out with Justice League. 93 million is still better than, nothing at all. To what they're going to do with it. Supposedly Jeff Johns is not full in on these movies. Supposedly Aquaman is going to be the first time he's got his most hands on it. So, we keep on hearing the excuses from whomever that, oh, well, it sucks because of this. Well, and Zack Snyder's on. Well, Jeff Johns is there. Oh, yeah, but he's not all in yet. That's the ironic thing is, what's the catchphrase of Justice League? All in.
All in. Yeah.
Yeah, but who's all in? Who was it? It's not Zack Snyder. It's not fucking Jeff Johns. I think we had part of Joss Whedon. Batman is like that damn Ben Affleck sad Batman meme is just stuck in my head. I can't get it out of there.
I like the one with the swing set. Man, he's just like.
What's funny is that, like, when you think about it, it's just who really has the most, I guess. Who wants to see these movies do better as far as, from a character perspective, from the actual entertainment and just, I guess, to see the movies be successfully done and actually, critically acclaimed, I guess, because I don't think that Warner Brothers really gives a shit so much about that. And I think that that's part of the problem is that, you have the people that are in charge of the DCEU aren't really putting much of a fight when it comes to that type of stuff. Like, no, it has to be good. Like, because I'll say this much: if you look at the lineup of the Justice League, if you go, them versus Avengers, as far as top 5 core versus top 5 core, there's no way. I'm sorry, like I love Marvel and everything, but there's no way that you can really rival or even step up to the top 5 people that would be in the Justice League. Like, that movie should be a slam dunk all day, every day. It shouldn't be that hard to make. It should just be, it should have been. I don't know if it could be as epic as Avengers was. Given the time and it being the first thing that you saw with that much, with that many characters and of that scale. But it shouldn't be this hard to like put out something that really is entertaining and draws people in. And I think that what's scary for them at this point is that, we being hardcore comic fans, we'll go see it just because it's out. It's probably like, it's one of the things where it's running unopposed, really. And then you got, you have the casual fans or just casual moviegoers, and they're the ones that aren't showing up for it. And it's harder to win them back, especially whereas it's like, if you went and saw the other ones and feel like you got ripped off or screwed by going to see them, you're not going to put your money down to see the next one. That's what makes it kind of scary.
Here's what people are finding out. And when I say people, I mean studios. It's not easy creating a shared universe. Dark universe, boom, that's gone. See ya. Fucking whatever. They're gonna try to do it with Godzilla and King Kong. I swear, I hope to God that works. But the Universal monsters, that went away.
That bombed. What about Rampage? Do you think that'll do well?
Oh, jeez. I just hope they don't kill the monkey. I'm gonna cry. Like
all I see is King Kong and all that.
No, but I think Kevin Feige, he's the architect, and he deserves more credit than we probably give him, which is a lot of credit already. I mean, and I think in a way, egos are in the way of WBs thinking that, and they should look at their own comic book sales. And I don't care what people say, DC fanboy, Marvel fanboy, and everybody says, DC writes great stories. Well, okay, we'll go buy the fucking books then, because Wonder Woman doesn't sell well. Flash doesn't sell well. Green Lantern doesn't sell. Only thing that sells well is Batman, unless they reboot something as a #1. And what they're finding is, they're finding we can't get anything to work unless it has Batman attached to it. And I think that's also the reason why Ben Affleck's like, man, that's a lot of pressure to put on me. I don't know if I want to be the dude that is saving their movie universe. Do we think Aquaman can do it? I don't know. We thought Wonder Woman could be it. I mean, they may have to move her movie up to, to make her do what she's doing. I mean, she's not the best actress in the world, but it looks like Patty Jenkins knows what to do with her. You know what I mean? I mean, some of the coolest scenes in Justice League was that flashback scene where they had all the Atlanteans and the Amazonians, and I think it was Zeus with the lightning. Fucking Green Lanterns. Man, I want to see that movie. Show me that movie. I want to see that movie.
Oh my God.
That was
the other scene that was really cool to me was when Steppenwolf kind of went into the cave when they were on Themyscira. And then Connie Nielsen had to take the mother box out, and they were like shutting the stones down, and they were like holding them up and stuff. That was a super cool scene.
Yeah, there was some really cool scenery in here. But here's where they fucked up, man. They assumed everybody knows what a fucking mother box was.
Yep.
And for some reason, we had a mother box in what looks to be burnt out Chernobyl. There was one at Themyscira, there was one in Atlantis, and then for some reason there was one in like a part of Russia where apparently only one family lives because the radiation is so bad. And they don't. To me, it seemed like they saw Man of Steel. We killed way too many people. So Batman vs Superman, hey, let's move the fight outside of Gotham so nobody gets hurt. So now it's like, hey, let's move the big fight to an obscure part of Russia no one knows about, where we felt no consequences that was going to happen, right? All we know is,
and just to kind of balance it out, so I criticize the Marvel movies too. That's also what I thought about Age of Ultron. The city that they used for that, but
that was like, hundreds of thousands of people on that place.
Right, but it wasn't for me anyways. It wasn't New York City, it wasn't San Francisco, it wasn't Chicago, you know what I mean? The places that I would identify with. It just seemed too far removed for me. And I would say I didn't care about it, but I didn't feel like the stakes were as high as if it was
so in contrast,
Los Angeles or
we got Captain America Civil War, where they fought in the fucking airport and nobody cared because it was great the way they filmed it, right? There was, it was, the consequences are much more on a personal level, where here it was like, well, we think these giant tentacles want to do something as they expand out. This mother boxes are weird.
You said tentacles?
Tentacles,
Okay. So make sure you didn't say testicles.
Weird, testicles, whatever they are. And I think they could have explained the mother boxes. I think there was a scene cut out where, they explained Steppenwolf's mother's essence is actually in the mother boxes, because I think in one of the trailers he actually says mother in the trailer, right? He goes, when he's doing the narration. And I think they assume that everybody knows what mother boxes were. The common moviegoer doesn't know what they are. I think like I said, there should have been the solo films to explain this shit out, or give us an extra 30 minutes to explain it. And God damn it, we're going to have to watch the extended Blu-ray now.
Yeah.
I have a feeling.
I think too, with those scenes, like they had all like the vines coming out and stuff, like the stuff, kind of like what we saw in Apocalypse, right? In the movie.
And once again, we had shit flying through the sky. We had a bunch of parademons coming through, whatever.
That's right.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, but I think that they should have matched the look of it to the nightmare scene from BVS. I think it would have felt a little bit more consistent if it was more of that, like, desert plain look versus kind of like it. For me, yes, there was a little bit of consistency there, but it didn't match. You know what I mean? So for me, that and actually a couple of the scenes, like the whole thing with the Flash, things like that, it was not consistent. If they're trying to make a consistent universe, it wasn't completely consistent with BVS and what came before it.
Well, you know,
in my opinion, maybe that's the cuts. I don't know, but for me, it didn't.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in.
No, go. I'm done.
I was gonna say, so for me, honestly, I almost wrote this movie off within the first 10 minutes just because of the fact of that, how they, because it kind of took me out of the movie when they had. So Wonder Woman's introduction was awesome. She comes in, she snatches up that guy, uses the lasso, and then when she throws the bomb out of the bank, and Amasante's like, "Well, I'll just shoot everybody in here." So he, goes and shoots one. She stops with her bracelet, and then he's like, "All right, I'm just gonna openly spray," and then she's just running around shooting and like knock. I was like, "How the fuck is she doing that?" First of all, I was like, "That's not really something that she goes about. Like, she's not quick enough to sit there and stop all that like that." So that bugged me a little bit. And then the thing that really bothered me was that in that boss scene, so was it Aquaman and Batman are talking, and they're out on the street. There's people walking. You see people walk by them, and fucking Aquaman calls him Batman right to his face.
No, he calls him Bruce. He says Bruce, doesn't he? Or has he said both?
No, he goes. Oh, so he goes Batman, huh? And then as he's going in the water, he's like, whatever, Bruce Wayne. And I'm like, his secret identity means nothing. It just they completely just outed him in front of everybody, and no one did anything. I mean, Bruce wasn't even like, "Hey, man, this is me." This is like
that Aquaman introduction scene is the perfect example of bad DJing, where that transition, the scene just started with Bruce Wayne talking to a bunch of people from Finland, right? I mean, I don't, it didn't, there was, at the very worst, they could have done like narration to say da-da-da or say something over the top of it, but it just like he showed up, and then just like Cyborg showing up where, he was spying on, Wonder Woman and Batman talking. It is like, there's obviously there's things that were cut out. And so just to help the overall storytelling, to keep it kind of going and flowing, so on. And, and Flash was okay. To be honest with you, he was annoying to me because I really liked the Flash version on TV. I thought, they took a step backwards, and now we're going to have to go through his entire origin movie story all over again.
Yeah. No, I do agree. I like, I think his name is Grant Austin, the CW Flash, right?
Grant Gustin.
I do like him. Yeah. I think that they should have used him, and that would have been cool to have that consistency there. But some of the highlights for me were actually the Flash, and not every scene, but there were some pretty funny ones. Like when he was pushing the truck to get it out of the city, and then Superman flies by with the whole building. Yeah, that was funny. Or when they first got to the Batcave, and then the Flash is like flashing around, that Aquaman steals something, and then like he's sitting in the Batmobile.
So let me ask you this: whose speedster powers were displayed better on film? I'll give you three choices: Flash, Quicksilver, or Quicksilver from X-Men. I thought Quicksilver and X-Men,
Quicksilver from X-Men.
Yeah, I thought Flash was just kind of too much lightning going around him and shit while he's doing that. I just thought they overdid it with them, and they kind of glossed over the Speed Force and what he was doing.
Yeah. He's like, I call it Speed Force. Never mention it again.
Yeah, and to go fast, he has to like throw his fist down, which is counterintuitive because that's not going to like thrust you forward.
Yeah. Hey, let's not bring science into this, okay?
Okay.
But he had his Quicksilver moments. I just think that they didn't want to go too much with it because they don't want people to think that they're just copying off of the X-Men. That's just my opinion.
He did have a running up on the side of the wall scene, like in X-Men.
Yeah.
Where he like pushed the sword.
My favorite scene with Flash was when they bring back Superman. He has like no memory, or he doesn't know who anybody is apparently, and he's basically gonna fight them all. And so he thinks that he's just gonna run around him and like push him to the side, and then all of a sudden you see Superman's eye like look over to him. I was like, that's pretty cool. That was an awesome moment.
Yeah, and then of course we had one of the end credit scenes with the race. Come on.
Yeah, that was cool. That was definitely fan service. But back to this. Let's bring up the Superman resurrection scene because that was really rushed.
Yep.
And apparently the big weapon was Lois Lane, just in case things go bad. Why not have Lois there to begin with so his ship doesn't go bad, right? Why not have her there as soon as he wakes up? She's the first person he sees, as opposed to,
wouldn't you want to be there?
you know, it's the obligatory comic book team up where you fight first, then you become buddies, you know, and Marvel 2-in-1 or any team up. And so it was like, you know, and that scene would have really, really helped us out with Alfred. And in the trailer where he sees it, and that was like the biggest scene ever in the trailer, right? People were speculating, is that Shazam, Superman, blah blah blah. And
that's Supergirl. Oh, people are
that moment would have made the film where you would have been like, oh, you would have got goosebumps, like, oh shit, Superman's coming to save the day.
Yeah.
But we didn't get that scene. But I will say this: that is the best version of Superman we've seen, color-wise, palette-wise, and character-wise. I mean, the colors were popping. It was bright red, cape. It was solid blue. That was like he wasn't, you know, he had like that kind of Boy Scout personality to him too. So I think, you know, they really shit the bed. They should have advertised. Everybody knew Superman was coming. Why not just put him in the fucking trailers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, here's the thing about that whole scene. When you watch Reign of the Superman, I'm like, who buries Superman in the ground? I mean, because according to the comic books, and I know that, you know, there's this separation between movies and comic books, and it's all good, but he was being held by Lex Luthor and what was the place the place that they held him? No, the scientific laboratory that
Star Labs.
Star Labs, yeah. Didn't Star Labs have him, or wasn't he was kidnapped and being held in Star Labs? I'm like, who buries somebody like that just in the ground? I mean, some grave robber, somebody wanted to take him just to at least experiment on him or something, just to see what they could find out, right?
Well, I guess everybody knows that Clark Kent is Superman now too. I meant, like,
exactly.
You know, shit, he had
how do you explain that?
I don't know how you're gonna do that one, but I think they also could have made, because in Man of Steel, one of the few good things in it was this relationship between Clark Kent and his mother, right? Martha, for God's sakes. Martha was building our fucking brains for 2 films, and we barely got any connection with that, right? You know, that's he finds his mom finds out her son is alive, and it was just they lost that moment, kind of like in Thor when Odin died. They could have had that emotional connection and let it, you know, build up a little bit, but once again, it's the time constraints that WB put on this movie, and and we're gonna curse it and we're gonna be pissed off, but when they're gonna announce it, it's gonna be the extended Blu-ray. There's already a fan petition to get the Zack Snyder version out there.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm waiting for.
I mean, how many times can you go back to your fucking boyfriend that beat you up and just say, give me another? You know what I mean? It's like, hey, they did it to us with Batman vs Superman with the fucking extended supercut. I think Suicide Squad didn't come out with one, right? The director said, no, this is my vision. I'm not going to cop out and say this isn't what I wanted. But I mean, we haven't heard from. It'll be interesting to see if Joss Whedon continues on doing anything else, because I know he's supposed to do Batgirl, but I haven't heard anything. I'd be curious to see if he wants to be, because now he's been in the process, because he didn't enjoy the process when he made Age of Ultron. You know, it was too stressful for him. But I imagine back then he was dealing with maybe 1 or 2 people and Kevin Feige. But now who knows how many people he's dealing with at Warner Brothers, right? If he wants to make his Batgirl film.
I feel like he's one of those directors who needs a lot of creative control for themselves. You know, if there's too many, like, God forbid you work with Kathleen Kennedy, like he'd be the next Phil Lord, Chris Miller crew, you know?
Oh yeah,
he'd be kicked out so quick. So I don't know, like,
but
maybe
even
he
Marvel,
got a bad taste in his mouth from this.
Even Marvel has loosened it up though. Look at Taika Waititi and James Gunn made their visions of their movies. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is a James Gunn movie. Taika Waititi's Thor is a Taika Waititi movie. You ever seen that vampire show that he did?
What We Do in the Shadows?
Yeah, I mean, that is all Taika Waititi, man. That's his sense of humor. That's kind of corny at times, but for the most part, the jokes hit. Where I thought the Justice League, the jokes were just Barry Allen being like a weird, like a weirdo teenage kid or something like that. Because I really don't know how old he is. He seems like he's 19 or 20 years old. Apparently, there was a scene with Iris in the movie that was cut as well.
What about the scene from BVS where he appeared to Batman, like from the future? Like, think they'll do anything with that? That just kind of seemed like it fell off the plans. I don't know.
Pretty much, because it was just like I remember too, like he seemed like he had a lot more urgency in what was going on.
Yeah,
in that. And it was just like,
it's her. It was her.
Well, we know it's the next Flash movie is going to be Flashpoint, so they could just blow it all up and just restart, and reboot and young Batman, Jake Gyllenhaal, and everything, and people will just be pissed off that they, it's rebooting again. I mean, how many times do you have to reboot it? Batman films may just be like Nolan-verse films, but Matt Reeves has a vision. He may want to just do it, outside of the scope of everything. So, I mean, they need to figure out what they want to do and stick to it. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be like Marvel because Marvel's successful. Fox has tried it to mixed results. I mean, Sony, I don't know what the fuck Sony's doing, but, the word now is Fox wants to buy Sony wants to buy Fox.
Yeah.
Which is really weird.
Spider-Man and the X-Men, here we come.
But at what point does WB just give up, or they just separate, or I mean, I don't think they would ever sell their stuff, right?
That'll never happen.
No. I think my opinion is that WB should just focus on standalone movies. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Before 2008, I think that's when Iron Man came out. That's how movies were, right? Like, sure, you could say there was some connection with like the Kevin Smith movies, or even like the James Cameron movies, but that was like minimal kind of Easter egg stuff. Mm-hmm. Movies have always been standalone movies, and they're great like that, and that allows the director to just focus on that movie and the beginning and the middle and the end of that movie, and not have to worry about setting up the next two movies, So they could do one, and I think they're kind of moving towards like what you said before. Just kind of like focusing on like the Bat family, right? That's kind of like ever since, I guess you could say, Michael Keaton, right? That's kind of always been their kind of like their standby character. So they're doing the Gotham City Sirens. They're doing more Suicide Squad, but they're doing the Batman and the Harley Quinn. They're doing all these movies, Batgirl, right? So make those just kind of like one and done movies, and that's perfectly fine. We'll like that. It doesn't. And Marvel has trained us this way, but they don't have to connect, and that's okay.
Yeah, because nobody's asking for a Suicide Squad sequel. I don't know why they're making it, but
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It's like one thing that I think the Justice League is my overall take is all the characters were great, kind of interacting with each other, but what surprised me also is that since Whedon did it, I thought, oh man, we're gonna some great team fight scenes, like in even Age of Ultron. You saw it, the Avengers, where they all like the first Avengers film where Iron Man, Cap, and Thor were all on that bridge and they all fought with each other. He shot his thing off the shield, and I didn't see that. It was Batman fighting parademons. It was Wonder Woman fighting parademons. It was Aquaman fighting Steppenwolf at one time. It was, but we didn't see them all get together for that one team up. Even the Fantastic Four movie had a team up moment where we get, so I didn't. I was waiting for that. I was like, Whedon can do this. He's done it before, and I didn't get it. So it was a bit disappointing.
The only kind of moment that I saw that was like a little hint of that was with Cyborg and Aquaman, right? Cyborg threw Aquaman. And that's when he went into the building and right?
Says, my man.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And apparently Booyah is a catchphrase for Cyborg. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's so lame, dude.
People went buck wild over that.
Apparently I didn't know that, but yeah.
All right. I do have to give a shout out. I ran through the numbers earlier. I want to shout out J. Rod Ham. We did the box office estimates on our previous show. Oh, maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago. I don't know, 2 weeks ago. And he said that this movie would come in at 95 million.
Ow.
Yeah. We were like, oh, you hater. It's the Justice League. It's got to do well. Freaking, we just coming off of Wonder Woman. Like, it's, it had all the elements of success, but we talked about the reasons why it might, right? And there's no real competition, coming into the holidays. Superhero movies have been arguably the only movies that have done well this year. Mm-hmm. It's got all these characters in it that everyone's like, yes, they're together. So a lot of the estimates that we had were like 150 million. I said 128. Chris, you were at 145. Justin, you were at 135. Tim, I don't think you said anything on here.
Yeah, I said 93.
90. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Actually, no, I actually thought 130, to be honest with you.
Okay. So, actually, no, I do have you here. Lords of the Long Box, 130. Yeah. So yeah, he was the only person who came in sub 100 million. So just wanted to shout him out for that.
Go buy a lotto ticket, bro. Go buy a lotto ticket.
That's right. J. Rod Ham, 78. Good job, man. You get the Marvel No Prize or the DC No Prize if that's a thing.
Yeah, it's called the DCEU.
That's right. All right. So, what did you guys like about the movie? Whether it was, somebody's costume, whether it was something in the plot, whether it was, dialogue, what did you, because let's say this, none of us hated the movie, right?
Mm-mm.
It wasn't complete shit.
Yeah, but after this last 30 minutes, it sounds like it was a
I know. Exactly. So that's why I want to kind of change the tone here. We've been ragging on this for a while now. Tell me what you guys liked about the movie.
Actually, for my counterpart from Boston says, I actually enjoyed that Wonder Woman scene. I thought it was badass the way she moved at lightning fast speed to show how, truly fast and powerful she is. She has pretty lips. She's nice to look at. Some of the action scenes were pretty cool. I won't get on it too much, but I didn't like Batman's costume. I don't know. It was weird to me. It just looked off. I don't know what the problem was. It just looked off.
There was a couple scenes where he looked a little pudgy.
Oh yeah, like yo,
yeah.
And he's so bulky, right? It's like doesn't seem to be free flowing like he could fight in it or something. But I thought the Flash was annoying at times, but I thought he was serviceable. Cyborg was surprisingly a good actor. I thought the scenes he did were pretty well done. I mean, he was kind of cool, calm, and collected. Alfred, we didn't get enough of Alfred because, first of all, he's a fucking world-class actor. I think anytime he's on screen, it does a benefit to the film. I think that we should have got more Commissioner Gordon. Apparently, there were scenes cut out from Commissioner Gordon as well. There's a scene where Commissioner Gordon actually does the detective work on the parademons. And that's how Batman knows they feed off of fear. He starts getting reports of these parademons sucking up people around Gotham, and that's how Batman finds out. So, so I would have liked to see more Commissioner Gordon as well. I think more of the backstory of the Atlanteans and the Amazonians and the Green Lanterns. That if they would have made that scene another 5 minutes longer, I would have been that, because I geeked out when you saw them all fighting together. And
and we got to see the little Green Lantern.
And he lost his ring, so maybe that's leading to a Green Lantern of some sort. We can hope. And also, there's a Spectre appearance. One of the cops talking to Commissioner Gordon is in the credits, and that is one of the iterations of the Spectre in the comics. And that's one of my favorite DC characters. I would have loved to have seen the Spectre come out. So overall, the action of each hero was good. Jason Momoa, for what he does, I think he's naturally funny in a kind of goofy way because he's not overly machismo. Like when I didn't know you could sit on the magic lasso and it makes you tell the truth. But that scene,
that was funny.
Out of the lasso, he starts telling his every fear and everything. I thought that was interesting. I thought how the parademons can feed off of fear is something they could have really worked on, right? They could have really, worked on it as the fear of an entire city, as opposed to the fear of just a small Russian family in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why they were stuck in that fucking house. All the parademons are outside. Why didn't they just bust through there? But I think they could have built on that. And that's why I have a feeling there's a movie somewhere we haven't seen that there's going to come out on Blu-ray that is hopefully going to explain more of this.
So actually, before you jump into that, you mentioned a quick Easter egg thing there. So when Barry, or I'll just say the Flash, when he went to visit his father in jail, one of the guards that kind of let him in, that actor actually played Jimmy Olsen back
the Jimmy Olsen from the Christopher Reeves Superman movies.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people would have picked up on that just because it was way back.
One last thing before you go to the next person. What I also liked is the tease, and it always seems to be a tease that, hey, it's almost like if you ever, one of my favorite movies ever, Excalibur, where King Arthur says, I'm going to build a round table. Around this round table, I will build a great hall. And it was that scene kind of led to when Bruce Wayne goes into the Wayne mansion. He goes, hey, I'm going to build a table for all of us. And it's going to fit, 5-6 people. And then Wonder Woman goes, make it for more. So,
Right.
You know, hopefully we get these other Justice League characters, or Red Tornado, whomever that's not being used by CW.
Martian Manhunter. Yeah.
But he's in the CW show. So for some reason, they don't allow us those CW characters to come over except for the Flash because he's integral, but no Green Lantern. No Green Arrow, which, I guess the Justice League is so powerful. You know what I mean? They're all powered. Like the Avengers, Captain America has, whatever, but, Black Widow, Hawkeye, non-powered that could fight street level type things. You got all the Netflix heroes, but the Justice League is just so damn powerful, right? They have to fight a world level type threat.
Yeah.
All the time.
One thing that I think that they should do, if they could do it, is just go like New Gods, just. We already have a little bit of a tease of that, of course,
Yeah,
I think that would be a good direction to go in for them.
Darkseid's name was mentioned once, I believe.
Yeah.
Once. Yeah. I don't understand why they didn't do... Thanos has been teased for what? 4 films now?
Mm-hmm.
They've been slowly explaining Infinity Gems. That's... I'm sorry, we're talking about the positive things. But anyway, that's...
Yeah, that's okay. No, I agree with that though. They've been working on the big bad, the guy behind the scenes for like a good 10 years now, and we're finally just getting to that. Here we are, just a couple of movies in, and we're so it's a little bit different. But Exile State, Justin, welcome. We haven't heard from you yet, so how you doing?
My mic was working. I tried to talk a couple times.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh no, you're good. Couldn't hear anything.
So what'd you think of the movie?
It was all right.
Nice.
It wasn't anything. It wasn't Thor, But I as a whole, I enjoyed it as a movie, but it didn't really give me hope for the future as much as I hoped it would be. As much as I hoped it would just be this like awesome ride that we went into and we saw. Exactly like what we've been imagining. Finally seeing this team put together. But I know we're talking positive, but my biggest negative, I think, the thing that hurt this movie the most was when it was released.
The timing.
Everybody that I talked to, all of my friends, everybody wants to see this movie, but they're gonna wait till Thanksgiving to see it. So I don't know anybody that went and saw it this weekend other than me.
See, you said the exact same thing that I was thinking, because with DC and Warner Bros. Trying to do their thing, I felt like it was rushed, and
it was just
I thought the same thing. I thought that the timing of this movie being released was bad, and that was actually one of the things that I saw in the article that I read. People are still seeing Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, it made $25 million this weekend.
Yeah, and then Tim mentioned Wonder made 3 times more than it was projected to make. So it was just really just bad timing for the film, trying to rush everything out.
Yeah. And then you got is that the Pixar one? No, what's the Pixar one coming out?
Coco's coming out.
Yeah, Coco. Yeah. Those are a cash cow always.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So but that was my biggest negative of the movie, other than a lot of people in the chat have been saying Cyborg as a character, you liked him, but looking at him hurt your eyes. So shoot. I don't know. I guess my favorite part was Wonder Woman. It just kind of carried over from her film that that was the character I was more looking forward to kind of riding along with, more so than the Flash, who going into it I wasn't that pumped for. So I liked Wonder Woman. That was probably my favorite part.
Okay. Well,
but that's an easy
good
answer.
Choice. Gal Gadot. Can't go wrong with her.
That's right.
Yeah.
I liked how, like I said, how Wonder Woman got introduced. How they had her, come into the movie was really cool. I liked a lot the scene with the Amazons in the beginning of the movie. I thought that was good, and I thought that actually was a good way to show off Steppenwolf, because it was just no matter what they tried to do, no matter how far away they tried to get, he was just unstoppable. Like he was gonna get that mother box no matter what. And I thought that was pretty cool. You know, I love the scene where you know, they're having to fight the kind of deranged Superman, and you know, like I said, you know, Flash is trying to like sneak up on him, and he just looks right at him. Like that was cool. I think that that scene too, where they're, you know, just explaining in the past and the Green Lantern and everything was that for me was you know, I'm with Tim. Like I want to see that movie. Like you know, I don't care if you have to make it. I mean, I kind of hope they extend that scene out for another like 5 or 6 minutes. To just be like, okay, this is what this is all about. Cool. Like, you know, but I think that it's something where we have the ability to hopefully see another one, and maybe they do expand it. Maybe they do go ahead and put some other characters in there, and they realize that, you know, or maybe the Suits realize that this movie really needs to be about 2.5 hours to really, you know, show what these guys can do together, and, you know, just kind of release the restraints on it. But overall, I mean, I think that it was a fun time, and you know, I do hope that, just like Justin said, we get to see what we've been imagining, you know, come to life and really just get the film that we want as the hardcore fans, and hopefully they're able to attract the casual moviegoer back into the theater to see a better movie the next time around.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we mentioned this earlier, and I'm glad you brought up again, Chris, because I looked at Thor Ragnarok was 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Age of Ultron was 2 hours and 20 minutes. And even Suicide Squad was 1 hour or 2 hours and 3 minutes. So having this movie a little bit over 2 hours, to me, should not have hurt it. Because if people want to see it, they're going to see it. And it's a clear example from all those other movies that I just mentioned that they made a buttload of money, even though they were over 2 hours. And I don't think that being concerned whether or not Justice League was over 2 hours should have been an issue. It should have never have been an issue. And I look at it only as it hurting the film so much. You know what I mean? So
absolutely. I think that they should have looked at the response from the Ultimate Cut as a good indication of what people wanted, a more fleshed out movie. You know, I actually came out of this, and I think Timmy might have said this in one of the chats or something, but I came out of this wanting more from the movie, you know, like obviously, you know, the scenes were cut and stuff, but I would have been perfectly happy with a 2.5 hour movie, you know. That would have been fine with me, because it would have, as we've been talking about, it would have fleshed out a lot of that stuff. We would have gotten the Aquaman stuff. We would have gotten, like, you know, more about Cyborg. It really comes down to those three characters: Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman, and kind of fleshing them out a little bit more, instead of, as we were said earlier, assuming everybody knows who they are. So I think that would have made it, you know, more rounded there. But one we haven't really talked about yet, we can talk about it now, is Steppenwolf. To me, he was just like them, not very fleshed out. Like, why was he trying to conquer the world? Like, just because he did it once before? We don't know, right? What's his deal? You know, we could talk about the CGI with him. He was very two-dimensional, very... The stakes for him didn't seem like it was completely what they wanted them to be for me. So, like, I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say, but
I had at no point felt like anybody was in mortal danger.
There you go. Right.
He felt like a cartoon villain that just wasn't, you know, his face didn't emote either. The CGI was so bad. His mouth moved, but you know, when you talk, your fucking eyebrows and shit move. I mean, you know, I mean, Ultron, all CGI, but they even made his mouth move, and he's a fucking robot, right? I mean, and that's why the Steppenwolf CGI was a bit off. And I think, to your point, what each character needed, and which I always talk about in films, is that superhero moment. Wonder Woman had it in Batman vs Superman. Yeah. So we missed that in Aquaman. Apparently he went off somewhere. He got his armor and his spear, and I'm assuming that was his superhero moment, right? Because all of a sudden he just shows up in his armor and his spear, and that was it. There was a conversation he had with Mira, apparently, where she goes, "You need to decide what you're going to do." And then he I guess the line is, "Well, I should leave humans to their own devices, but I feel bad for them, so I'm going to help them. So she's almost like saying, hey, you need to be king of Atlantis, or you need to be, all in, or you need to be out. And so I think we missed that because Mira, that's one thing that was kind of cool, is also how powerful she looked, doing whatever whirlpool of fucking thing. And which really threw me off, now that I just think about it, Mira was cool and how powerful she looked. Also, Hippolyta or whatever, Wonder Woman's mom, she was badass too. In the scenes where she's fighting Steppenwolf 1-on-1, and she grabs the mother box and runs off, and other Amazons come down like
I love that.
What are the rings? The Rohirrim, the herd of the soldiers of Gondor. Is that it?
The Rohirrim.
Yeah,
the Rohirrim, right? That looked badass, and I was thinking, damn, there's a movie there somewhere. But what I was saying was what the fuck was I saying?
There were a couple really cool fight scenes.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, but Mira, when she's talking to Aquaman and they're in the water and she creates an air pocket for them to talk in, which I didn't quite understand since they're Atlantean and they can breathe underwater. So why would there need to be an air bubble?
Exactly. And then kind of like building off of that, they were trying to be funny. I think Batman asked him, like, do you talk to fish? And he said, no, the water talks to them. Right?
Yeah. So it's like water sign language for fish and shit.
Right. So then why do they need the air bubble, right? But kind of
it's like that joke in The Martian where they're having the interviews and Matt Damon goes, so Aquaman could talk to fish, right? So why can't he talk to whales? Because they're mammals. You know what I mean?
Well, look at Star Wars Episode 1 when they went down in the water. They had these air pockets as well, right?
Yeah, man, but they're not fucking Atlanteans. They're fucking humans.
No, but they're water people. I mean, this, swim, breathe, everything in the water, right?
They do swim quite a bit. But I think that for Steppenwolf, the scenes with Darkseid that were cut, and I know that they were purposely cut because Joss Whedon, I've said it before, but he likes to make a beginning, a middle, and an end movie, like a movie that is fully told in that one movie.
That's crazy.
So, right? But adding in Darkseid wouldn't have not let him do that because it would have been tying in together stuff. He would have had to tell Darkseid's story. He would have to do this and that. Mm-hmm. So I get why he did that, like from his side of it, from his perspective. But I think it really hurt the story that he was trying to tell with Steppenwolf and his side.
So Whedon basically doesn't believe in sequels. He's just like, no, this is self-contained, one-off, and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, do you know what kind of movie you're working on? Like, do you know what they're trying to achieve? Because if you don't agree with it, then don't fucking be part of the movie. Like, I mean, I understand that you have the chops for it and everything else, but you got to understand that there's more to that. Like, to have Darkseid there was cool. Because one of the things I got from Steppenwolf was he had an inferiority complex. I want my place next to the New Gods. They're gonna notice me for this. Like, that's why I figured his motivation was. I'm gonna take over the world and they'll notice me. They'll let me into the club now. It's just like, I mean, and so what happened? The parademons took him back away, or he got boom-tubed away. So he basically got taken back, and it was just like, okay, so he's probably gonna get punished and still not get the place that he wants next to the New Gods.
Yeah,
I mean, it just seemed like if there was something there, if there was something that, like, if Darkseid had instructed him, look, if you want a favorable place in Miami, do this. Like, that would have been way more explanation, and it would have gave him more purpose than just, I want this guy to notice me. Well, who fucking cares if he doesn't? You know what I mean? Why should Darkseid notice you?
Exactly.
It seemed like even if he did take over the world, there's still no reason for Darkseid to notice and give him what he wants.
Right. Exactly. He wants to come here, but why does Darkseid want to come here? Like,
exactly.
Nobody wants that piece of fucking real estate in buttfuck Russia, wherever the hell it was, man. It was like, to me, it was like Chernobyl or something. You know what I mean? Like, the mother boxes that, apparently the knights of whatever realm buried it in Russia, but they looked like they were knights of, old England or something. You know what I mean? The scene where they had like these, they seemed like knights from the medieval times, and they buried the mother box underneath there. And they don't explain why the mother box started opening and doing shit, right? They just, apparently popped up, man. I think that
would have been good to show that in Wonder Woman. If they would have showed the mother box a little bit in Wonder Woman, that would have been great.
Well, the only time we saw was at the end of Batman vs Superman, in that scene with Lex Luthor, and they also didn't show the scene where apparently Deathstroke broke Lex Luthor out of prison. And then they said, we'll meet up again. And that's why the end credit scene is Lex Luthor with Deathstroke, which to me is like, all right, we have the Justice League, the 5 most powerful beings on Earth, and we have Lex Luthor and Deathstroke are going to fight.
Yeah.
Well, you got Lex, you got Deathstroke, Cheetah's coming, you got Black Manta coming. Right,
still not powerful enough, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just really looking forward to seeing the Black Manta helmet because it needs to be ridiculously ugly.
Yeah.
It's going to look
He
like
has
a
to kill Aquaman's
penis.
son, too.
Do I?
He has to kill Aquaman's son.
Yeah.
First order of business.
Uh,
Curry. Throw his son in the,
You have to give us some of the comic book storylines, guys.
So I mean, where do they go from here though? Because we have a whole year before Aquaman comes out. Flash, we don't know. So I mean, damn, that's a whole year of gestating of not storytelling. Where I don't see where you're ever going to fit in Darkseid again when
Exactly.
Flashpoint comes, because that's not really Darkseid related either. So I don't see how.
and you can't do a Final Crisis type thing already. Because you don't have enough material there to even make it be like you don't even have the universe ready and together to go and fight something like Darkseid yet. So it's just it's really you're right. Like that year layoff is going to be bad for them.
Yeah.
well, James, King of the Golden State.
And then do the Batman stuff we were talking about instead of continuing on this current path.
I think James made a good point. He said the King of the Golden State says that these Warner Bros. Needs to sit down and plan their movies for the next, I don't know if he said 5 movies or 5 years. I think that would be a good starting point.
That's the thing. Like Warner Brothers, I don't think can care less about these in terms of telling the story and what DC is looking to do cinematically. Like I think that's where the problem lies, is that they don't have a middle ground between the two companies. It's like your parent company can give a fuck less what you do. They're just like, look, you're going to tell a story this way. We don't care what direction you want to make it in. We just have these movies lined up that we know are successful or supposed to be successful because they're superhero movies. So, you get the people, you get your crews together, you give us a script, we'll tell you whether or not you can do it the way you want to. And then, we'll step in when we need to. And it's just like they can't operate like that. Eventually, I mean, if it stays like this, they're just going to have to give up on these movies and just kind of, DCEU is gonna have to just go back to being, I think, cartoons and stuff. And I mean, like, it's a shame because just like if they could just kind of break through and kind of have that like middle mediator to say, all right, look, this is what we're gonna do. Like, this is what you need to understand about these movies. Like, how is Marvel so successful with these things? What's Kevin Feige doing that we're not? You know what I mean? I don't think they're having that discussion. I think they're just saying we can do just as good as them if we just copy these things and put it out this way.
Exactly. All right, guys. Well,
Easy, man, pimping ain't easy.
that's right. And it takes a good decade to get to the.
Dude, think about it just quickly. I mean, Marvel started with Iron Man 1, right?
Yep.
Just good old Iron Man by himself, C-list character, and then boom, we're about to get arguably the biggest fucking movie ever.
Ever. Yeah.
Star Wars, whatever the fuck it is. You get Infinity War. Both of them together. I mean, shit, they haven't even. Here's how patient Marvel is. They haven't even fucking released a trailer for Infinity War yet because they haven't deemed it worthy yet. Because they're like, no, we want to wait till the right time to drop the shit on you, and then boom, and it's gonna, and we're all gonna buy it up. Just like but the frustrating part is we can't get DC to be that patient to just be like, here, man, boom, boom, and now all these years of combination. They haven't even talked about Phase 4 yet because this is so epic what they're going to go through right now.
Yeah.
So.
And we started getting Justice League teasers literally
Early.
a year ago.
Yeah.
I thought it was a
year
summer.
ago. A long time ago.
Yeah.
It was Comic-Con 2 years ago, I think. Remember when they I mean, that's what DC is good, or Warner Brothers is good at hyping up the fanboy expectation.
Yep.
Whereas Kevin Feige
That's
is
a
the
double-edged
literal, he's the literal hold my beer meme, right?
Yeah.
Where they go, oh, you're going to do Justice League? Let me throw Ant-Man at you. You don't want it? Boom, you're going to like it, and you're going to ask for more.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Now we're getting an Ant-Man and a Wasp. Like, I never thought I'd want to see an Ant-Man and a Wasp, but now I want to see it.
And that's funny, too, that you say, like, that you want more. See, it's different from what, and just to clarify, like, where Jesse's coming from, and I think he, made it clear in a way, but just like, so Jesse was like, I wanted more out of this movie, kind of like, a disappointed parent's like, I expected more out of you. Whereas what you're saying is like, I saw this movie, it was great. Like, I want to see where they go next with this character. And I think they just haven't kind of put those two together and understand that there's two different parallels to what you mean when I want more, like, but yeah, I mean, and I agree with that. Like, I mean, because I initially thought that Ant-Man was going to be where the Marvel universe started to crumble, and it's like, oh, these movies aren't going to be as good anymore. And I was a little nervous when I heard that in Doctor Strange. I was like, I don't know how they're going to pull these ones off, and I was extremely surprised at how both of them came out, especially Ant-Man. Ant-Man was really good. I was actually, just taken back at how good of a movie it was, and they realized that you can't tell this.
It's hilarious in the
The thing that they realized with those movies is you can't tell them the same way every single time. That's what Zack Snyder's problem was, just that he tells the same story over and over and over. Not the same story, but the same things in the same way over and over again.
The same style.
And just like, they realize you're not going to have a big, crazy, just over the top heroic, movie where, you have Ant-Man beating people up left and right. It's just like, what can we do? Like, what are his strengths? A heist movie. Okay. Like yeah, let's do that.
It's like Thor Ragnarok, right? The first two movies, Chris Hemsworth said, hey, man, he's a little bit too serious, too Shakespearean. Let's have fun with it. And then you get this crazy Thor Ragnarok movie that just shouldn't work on paper, right? And then you just walk out of there like, this talking fucking rock that sounds like a weird New Zealander, and it's just fucking hilarious, man. And what was his name?
Doug?
What was the name of the dude that's in the hallway dead? What's his name?
Like Doug.
He's like Doug, right?
Doug.
Don't be like Doug.
This is Doug.
Don't be like Doug.
I knew Doug.
I knew Doug. Yeah. All right, guys. So it is time for rating time. So give me just a kind of a summary of your impression, and then rate it. And again, it's a 5-point scale, and then you're going to give me a CGC 10-point scale score. Okay. Who wants to go first?
I'll go. I'll give it. Do I have to go? Can I go 3.25 stars?
Yeah, you can do. Yeah,
going Star Search numbers there.
Yeah, but that's like schmoes know they'll go like 3.27. I'll go through 3.5, maybe. Okay. My graded score now I've adjusted this is a PGX 8.0 because upon closer inspection by our qualified professionals, the grade will probably be lower. Okay. So it's a PGX 8.0, but if CGC were to grade it, it would probably be a 7.5. But it's better than people are panning it to be. It's not a great film, but you know what? It could have been better if it was longer. They didn't embarrass themselves like they did with Suicide Squad. So I think we deserve better as comic book fans, as movie fans of such an epic thing that apparently we've been waiting all our lives for. So I think it kind of stumbled its way into that, but it's Wonder Woman, and then I would put Man of Steel and Justice League. Maybe Justice League a little bit higher than Man of Steel.
Okay. Yeah. All right, that's good. Couple people in the chat here. So NLC gave it a 3 out of 5. Seeking Near Men said 3 out of 5 or an 8.0. I'm assuming Blue Label there. 2.5 for Jackio and 6.8 out of 10 for him. Iconic Point said 8.5 without a press. So could have gotten like a Whedon press and come out a little bit better. NLC said so 3 out of 5 is 60%. That's right. And then Ray D Comics and Geekery said 3 out of 5, 7.5. T-Man 4 out of 5. Okay, that's pretty good. And an 8.5.
Who the hell said 9.4?
King of the Golden State CGC 7.0 restored. Give it a restored grade. Okay.
Yeah, because it looks like it was color touch because there's some bad spotty color touching throughout the film.
You got some retouches on there, right?
That you gave it a Vault 9.0. Who knows what the fuck Vault's up to?
Oh, God, that's probably like a 12. That means it was like Casablanca. Yeah. And then Vernon Johnson 9.4 to 9.6. Okay.
Wow, Vernon.
He said it was a DC curve. So
yeah. All right, cool. Caddy King Comics 3.0 after it was dry cleaned.
It was wet from Aquaman because Aquaman
Yeah,
touched it.
exactly. Got that salty water on it.
3.7.
And then that comic book guy said 3.75.
Hey, did anybody else have the Deadpool trailer in their Justice League showing?
Yes, I did.
And they cut out all the bad words. Was that weird or what?
Yeah, it was a little like, okay.
Yeah,
we didn't
I
have
said,
that.
he's not going to say cocaine in the trailer, is he? No way. And they cut it out. But anyway, go ahead.
That part was like, I'm so freaking high right now.
Yeah, but he says, I love cocaine.
Yeah,
They cut that part out.
that's right. But they did leave in the whole like, I want to go skiing and I love snow.
Yeah.
So that was in reference to that. But Rag 718, 3.5, and then 8.5. And then Splash Page says that it is a poly bag, not a Mylar bag. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. I'm going to kick it over to you. What'd you guys think?
I
Final scores here.
would give it a 3.5. And for the CGC grade, I would give it a 7.0.
Okay.
Could have been better. 3.5. I think is about where it belongs.
Okay. Good.
Yeah,
Justin?
I'll go this. I mean, I'd pretty much go the same. It's in that 3.5 range. Like, could have been a lot better. Could have been worse somehow. Guess like they could have given us even less than we got. So in that range, and probably about a 7.5 if we're grading.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. All right.
At least the Flash's mom's name's not Martha.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'd probably have to give it. I got one for you guys.
No.
I definitely give you a 3 out of 5. But I would say let's go with a CBCS 8.5 raw graded. Reason why is because something like this doesn't need to be encapsulated and preserved.
Ooh, I like that.
Damn.
All right.
Your
That was
Delavan status.
I don't want to throw this out there, but if we're also grading it as a modern book, a 7.5 and 8.0 is a fucking horrible score. Like if you got a brand new book
Yeah.
off the shelf and submitted it and you didn't get a 9.0 back, so I think that so if DC was expecting to grade it a brand new film and it came back like that, you'd be disappointed. You know what I mean? If it's a
Yeah.
Silver Age book and you got it, shit,
That's fine.
Like,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
Gold mine.
That's right. For modern, it's like, what? All right. So I like the movie. Despite all the stuff we said, I had fun with it. The best part for me, I guess, was the interaction between the heroes. Like, I feel like by and large, they got the characterizations right. By and large, right? We could still say some issues for that. So it was fun. And like I said at the beginning, when I first left the theater, I had a feeling of I had fun. I enjoyed it, right? So that for me is a good indication. So I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 and a 7.5. I'll just go straight Blue Label on it. 7.5 out of 10. So that's my final score on that. We'll see what the ultimate cut does if we get one. And we'll revisit that down the road. But
Let's do a guessing game now.
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement that there will be extended cut. Let's all guess on how long the extended cut will be. How many minutes?
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing though, because Batman versus Superman, I could have cared less for extended scene, but this left me hungry enough to where I'd want to get the Blu-ray just to see what they cut out of it.
Yeah.
This is a Daredevil extended cut type thing, where the actual extended cut of Daredevil was a good movie. So
Yeah.
I'm going to say 2 hours and 40 minutes. They're going to milk as much out of it as they can. An additional 40 minutes of footage.
Man, I was going to say 45.
45, yeah. Me
Yeah.
too.
All right.
That much?
Yeah.
I'm thinking like 30 minutes, but who
No
knows?
way.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like 30.
30?
Because, I think as a selling point for make people really buy the Blu-rays, because they kind of tricked everybody with Batman, Superman, just 15, 20 people are like, psh, what is that going to do? You know what I mean? But if they say, hey, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, that's like, that can change the whole narrative of the movie. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I mean, it can really, but there will be backlash from it. So I'd be curious to see how quickly they announce this, because there's like I said, there's a petition, like 60,000 people sign it, where they want the Zack Snyder version. I don't know if we want the Zack Snyder version, but maybe get a really good editor in there to spice in, both
Yeah.
parts.
You know, like people coming out of the movie feeling kind of lukewarm about it, right? I mean, 3.5, 3, that's pretty close to kind of right in the middle, like not great, not bad. Just so adding a significant amount, like 30, 40, 50 minutes, even an hour more, that is a pretty good incentive to, get people to buy it, right?
It's a good selling point. They'll
If
be
you
like,
come
hey,
out of that
man,
movie like, I didn't really like it, they're not going to be like running out to buy the Blu-ray like when it first comes out. But if there's a whole extra 30, 40, 50 minutes of it, like even if I was like, I'd be like, yeah, I'm definitely going to, check that out. I want to see what was added,
Yeah. What did I miss in that
It makes
hour?
sense. Yeah, exactly. So it makes sense to add in a significant amount of time, not just.
I think they're gonna have to recoup the losses. They're gonna have to. That's the only way I see them and make anything out of this. They have to recoup their losses, and they will sell the shit out of this. Additional scenes that were cut out, blah blah blah. They're gonna have to, they're gonna have to eat some humble pie on this. They're gonna Whedon is gonna have to come forward and say, hey, this is the movie I really make. He really needs to sell the Blu-ray to get the sales going. You know what I mean? Just like the same way they did Batman Superman. They said, this is the movie that they saw such a flop it was, so they have it in them. And this is the one time where we all agree we want the extended cut. We didn't want the extended cut of Batman vs Superman.
Exactly. All right, guys, give me some final thoughts and some plugs if you got them, some shout outs if you want it. And then we'll be on our way. Let's start with you, Chris. What you got for us?
Final thoughts for me is, Justice League, like I said, fun movie. You won't feel like you got ripped off at the theater this time, so that's a good thing. Other than that, I don't really have anything to plug or anything like that. So I just want to tell everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Be safe. Be careful if you go on Black Friday shopping. I know how that can get all crazy and hectic, but just everybody have a safe holiday, and we will see you when the next season starts.
Sweet. All right, good stuff. All right, Justin.
Yeah, just thanks everybody for showing up in the chat. This was a lot of fun. Justice League, like you guys were saying, overall, like, it was a fun movie. I don't know now if I almost rather waited and just watched it on DVD or something.
Yeah.
But and that's bad because it's not what you want coming out of a comic book movie, especially if you're a massive comic book fan. But overall, I still kind of had fun with the movie, so yeah. I wasn't severely disappointed. Coming up this week, I think I'm going to do a Friday live show. Everybody's going to be out shopping. I'm going to be here talking about comics at some point during the day. Of course, regular videos will be up later this week as always. So.
Sweet. All right, cool. Edwin?
Yeah, same thing as everybody else. Have a good time with the Thanksgiving holiday and try not to be out skipping on the family just to go shopping all the time. Definitely make it about friends and family for sure. But
right on.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for having me on. Tim, thanks for joining us. Affordable auction number 10, the last one of the year, December the 10th, 6 p.m. Eastern. That's all I got.
That's right. Get your dealios. All right, Mr. Tebow, what you got for us? Final shout-outs.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on the show, guys. It's always good time with hanging out with the fellas. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I don't know if we're going to have a show tomorrow. Probably not since it's the holiday. But happy Thanksgiving. And remember, don't be a jive turkey so close to Thanksgiving. Yeah.
That's right. All right, sweet. So this was fun. This was great. We kind of fleshed out the whole movie, pros, cons, pretty much every aspect of it, even pre-production, post-production. So I think we did a really good job of covering the full spectrum of this movie and giving it an honest, fair review and assessment for it. So good job to all you guys. And shout out to everybody in the chat for joining us as well. A lot of great comments there, some insight, ratings and stuff as well. So I like to hear that. If you are listening to us on iTunes, check us out on YouTube. We are, except for December, every Thursday night at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. That's the only place you can see us or watch us. If you're watching us through podcast, through streaming, thank you for that as well. Feel free to leave us comments and let us know what you thought of it. Ratings, opinions on it. Be happy to hear it. We always do. And tonight is actually the Doomsday Clock release, 11:57 p.m. So feel free to head out to your local comic shop and check that out if they got an event going on. They got a special cover for that in a couple hours. So there you go. That is Comic Conversation, and this has been our Justice League review. Peace, everybody.
Have a good one.